Something massive is happening on the world stage. We're talking about what some historians are calling the most aggressive retreat from global institutions, well, in modern memory. And really, it all kicks off with one single, powerful number.
And that number is 66. Yeah, 66. That's the number of international organizations, treaties, you name it, that the United States is planning to leave. And this isn't happening over decades. It's one single sweeping move.
Okay, so let's be clear. This isn't just some political grandstanding. Nope. This is a formal presidential directive. The White House has officially announced a plan to cut ties with all these international bodies. It's a huge, huge pivot in American foreign policy. And when you look at the breakdown of that number, 66, it gets really interesting. You might think, oh, this is all about the UN, right? But it's not. It's almost a perfect 50-50 split between UN groups and other non-UN organizations. That just goes to show you how wide the net is being cast here. I mean, it's touching basically every corner of international cooperation. And the names on this list, they're absolutely staggering. We're talking about the big ones, the foundational groups for climate action, super important agencies for gender equality like UN Women, and even key security forums. So the impact here, it's not just broad, it's incredibly deep. So this all leads to the big question, right? Why is this happening? Well, the administration has been pretty upfront about its reasoning. They're framing this whole thing as a key part of their America First foreign policy. So let's dive into the official justification they've given. And this quote from the White House really gets to the heart of it. The core argument is pretty simple. They believe these groups are pushing a globalist agenda that doesn't align with U.S. interests and, costs a lot of taxpayer money.
And if you dig a little deeper into their motivations, they list a few key things. First, reclaiming U.S. sovereignty. Second, stopping what they see as wasted taxpayer dollars. They also talk about undercutting things they've termed woke lunacy and radical gender ideology, and opposing what they describe as ineffective or hostile globalist agendas. From their point of view, a globalist agenda is basically any time international rules might come before national interests.
So you can probably guess what happened next. This announcement sent absolute shockwaves across the globe. The reaction from the international community, it was fast, and for the most part, people were really, really concerned. First up, you have the United Nations itself. Their response was, as you'd expect, very diplomatic, but also very clear. The Secretary General's spokesperson just came out and said he regrets the announcement. It's a measured way of saying, we are not happy about this. But not everyone was so diplomatic about it. The UN's climate chief, Simon Steele, he did not hold back. He called it a colossal own goal. His point is that by stepping away from global climate efforts, the U.S. is actually just hurting itself in the long run. Then you have the former head of UN Women, who really focused on the human side of things. She warned that this move puts the entire women's agenda at risk. Her big worry is that pulling out of groups like UN Women could undo years of progress on gender equality. And she basically put out a call to action for other countries to fill that gap. And it wasn't just UN officials. Key US allies over in the European Union were saying pretty much the same thing. They called the decision a strategic blunder and said it was regrettable and unfortunate. I mean, that's a pretty clear sign that there's a major disagreement here between Washington and its allies. Okay, so we've heard the arguments and the reactions. But what does this actually mean? Like, what are the real-world consequences when the biggest economy on the planet, a major funder for all these groups, just gets up and walks away? Well, for one thing, you've got to follow the money. Look at this number, $1.3 billion. That's how much the U.S. owed to the UN in dues from just the year before this. It's a huge figure, and it just gives you a sense of the giant financial hole that's about to be created. So when the U.S. pulls its funding and its leadership from 66 different organizations, well, that creates a massive power vacuum. And that leads to the biggest question that every diplomat and analyst out there is asking right now. Who is going to fill that void? Well, a lot of the analysis from different sources seems to point in one direction: China. Many experts are suggesting that China is perfectly positioned to step in and expand its influence. And that could mean China helping to set international standards on everything from tech to trade to really shaping the rules that all these organizations play by. Now, it's really important to understand that this didn't just come out of nowhere. It's really the culmination of a trend that's been going on for years. If you look at this timeline, you see a clear pattern.
Withdrawals from UNESCO, the Iran deal, the World Health Organization. This latest move is just the biggest step yet.
So where does all of this leave us? What does it mean for the future? Well, what we're looking at is a fundamental shift in how the world tackles big challenges. It's a move away from the model of international cooperation that's been in place for a really, really long time.
And I don't think we can overstate the historical significance here. Experts are pretty much unanimous on this. This is not just another policy change. They're describing it as the single most aggressive American retreat from the international system in modern memory. At the very core of this whole debate is this one idea, multilateralism. It sounds like a complicated word, but it's actually a pretty simple concept. It's just the principle that countries should work together to solve problems they all share. This new policy, it's a direct challenge to that very idea, an idea that's been the foundation of global diplomacy since the end of World War II. So what are the organizations themselves doing? Well, in the face of all this, they're projecting what's been called a quiet resolve. Basically, the UN and the other bodies are saying, look, we're going to continue our work. We're going to carry on with our missions as best we can, even if it means doing it with way less money and capacity.
And so, in the end, it all comes down to this one central question. Is this move a strategic masterstroke that will, as the administration claims, reclaim American sovereignty and make the country more prosperous? Or is it a colossal foreign policy misfire that's going to make the world less stable and the U.S. less influential? That is the huge debate that this decision has picked off all around the world.